Hey folks, welcome back to Good Enough Customs. So this week we are back on Little John, and you may ask why that hood's popped. Well, there's a few things to do on this guy. Like I said last week, I was going to be daily driving this guy this week, and I mean, really, the truck's done awesome. It's running, driving, everything's working great on it. I'm really enjoying driving this truck. The problem that I ran into is I took it on the highway a couple times, and if you remember back when I got this truck, the rear end's like 411, and these tires are only 29 inches tall, and she ain't got no overdrive. So that translates into some very high RPMs at highway speeds. So 55 mile an hour, I'm turning around 3,000 RPM. Little John doesn't like that. Started watching the thermostat doing that, and it was climbing. It was climbing fast. So I think I'm gonna have to swap out this radiator. This little guy, you know, last week when we were looking at it, this little guy was like, yeah, that's really small. I've never seen one that small on a 350. Does great in and around town and riding the back roads at 40, 45 mile an hour. Does just fine. But like I said, you get this thing on the interstate and it's just like, whew, she gets hot quick. So about a year ago, I bought this guy. This is a 3-core aluminum radiator with dual electric fans and a cowl on the back side. This is the front side of it. I bought this guy for Big John. Loud. I bought that guy for Big John, and I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna go ahead and put this in Little John because it's there, and I can go ahead. I'll just buy another one if I need one for Big John. So that's kind of what's on the docket today. We're gonna drain the radiator, cooling system again. Yay. Had a lot of practice on that last week. So we're going to do that again. Another thing that we're going to try and knock out today is, you know, driving this guy. It's running and driving good. It looks pretty good from a distance, but you get up close and you kind of see how the paint's just trash. And I threatened last week, I ain't afraid to polish a turd. So I think we're going to do a little polishing on this guy, try to bring some shine back in this and make it look a little bit better. And if I can finish all that stuff out, there's a few other little odd and end things I might try and do today. But we'll get into that later. So I guess let's get started. I got to drain this radiator off and drain all the coolant out again. So, so I'm gonna get started on this. Don't worry, I'm not gonna film that. Y'all guys have already seen that. So I'll get started draining the coolant off, and we'll start tearing this guy down and getting this guy out of the way. I'll probably just turn the camera back on when I go to put the fresh radiator in. So I guess we'll see y'all here in just a few. Alrighty, so got everything kind of cleared out here. The old radiator's out, all the fan shrouds out. I had to run to the parts house and pick up some bolts. I didn't have any short for the water pump. They're 5/16 by 24 pitch thread, so didn't have any of those, so I had to go pick those guys up. But got this all cleaned up. There's a bunch of had a bunch of leaves and debris down in there, even a couple rat turds. So got all that cleaned up. One thing you're going to want to make sure and do is make sure you save your little rubber pads. There's one there, and there's this one right there. You want to save those top and bottom. Got my top ones here for the new radiator. So you don't want the radiator just sitting metal to metal contact. It'll wear a hole in it, and then, you know, you'll have problems. So brand new radiator, boom, sitting right there. Pulled this out of the box and promptly dropped it. So butterfingers. So yeah, it didn't fall that far. It was I had it laying set up against this jug, kind of poked out this way, and I bumped it with my leg and knocked it over. It made a pretty loud noise, but those welds look all right. So I'm gonna guess I didn't bust a weld or anything. Those look all right. This thing's definitely made in China because it's got a sticker that says so. So the other side of this guy looks like this. It's got the nice dual electric fans on there. We got bungs for automatic transmission, which we don't have. We got a bung here for I think my heater core is actually fed in through one of these, but I'll probably just use that guy. But everything looks looks to line up pretty good. So I think what I'll do is get the camera set up. We'll drop this guy in place and see about getting it fastened down and, you know, in place. So I'll see y'all over there. All right, let's drop this fresh radiator in. So a little rubber feet down at the bottom, they line up perfect. Let's see if our top ones line up worth anything. I'm guessing it probably is close, but not quite. It doesn't feel like it's grabbing. Yeah. Go and throw a couple screws in it. Let's see what this guy does. All right, so that's not really doing much of anything, but we can go ahead and get them bolted down, and then we can come over here and we can figure out what we need to do to fab up a little hold down bracket for the top. And maybe these guys will work, kinda. Well, this side lines up. Maybe I grabbed the wrong hole over here. Hang on. So there's two different sets of holes. Two different sets of holes that'll be for different size radiators, I would assume. So let's see if, of course that falls back there where I can't get to it. Yep, looks like I was just one bolt hole over. This sits so close to the radiator cap that it's just not going to work. So I guess I'm going to take this guy off, and I'm just going to hit this with the flap disc and just kind of shave a little bit off the side. That should give me enough room, and that's not really going to kill the structural integrity of this guy. But with that bolted in, yeah, this guy does exactly like it should. So let me pull this off, and actually let me mark this real quick, and then I'll knock this down a little bit, and we'll move on. All right, so gave this guy just a little zip off the side, and we got plenty of room now for the cap to move and do what it needs to do, and it can go on and off pretty easy. Throw a little paint on the side of it just to keep this thing from rusting right here where I buzzed it. So we got a few different connections along the side of this guy. We've got this guy right here, I'm going to guess for heater hose. I could probably use this guy's heater hose as well, but I'm thinking that's more for like a vent, steam vent or whatever, that, you know, more for LS applications. But I'll use that guy for a heater hose, but my heater hose is definitely not long enough, so I'll have to get a new heater hose to hook up to this. We got a manual trans, so we're not going to hook up the trans cooler here. And I just got to pop that cap out of the bottom and hook up my lower hose, and pop the cap out of the top and hook up my upper hose. And then before we fill this guy up, let me make sure the petcock's closed. It is not. That would have sucked. All right. Petcock appears to be closed now. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and hook up my hoses and run back to the parts house and pick up another heater hose, probably both heater hoses, so that way I can make sure that I got fresh heater hoses. Always something. And then once I get back, we'll wire up these fans and get these guys ready to go. The aggravating thing is I give you this plug, but there's not, this is the male side of the plug. They don't give you the female plug. So we'll probably end up having to cut the tips off of this. I've got some little weatherproof connectors that I can use to hook these guys up, or I can just splice them directly in. I think I'll just put the weatherproof connectors on it. That'll probably work a little bit better. In case I need to replace the fans or something, you know, I can take it loose and do what I need to do. All right. Yeah, let me go get stuff, and I'll be back. All right, ran back to the parts house and got two fresh heater hoses. They're a little long. I could probably trim a little bit off, but whatever. It's fine. This one had a shut-off valve in it before. So, looking at the shut-off valve, the shut-off valve is open, so it was allowing coolant to pass through. So hopefully the heater core isn't leaking, but if it is, I can just snip it. I can put that shut-off valve between and shut the coolant flow off. So yeah, got all my new heater hoses in, got everything clamped down. This guy right here, he was barely in there, so I pulled him out, took out that pipe wrap, and put some liquid pipe sealant on it, and then ran it in until it snugged up. It was just finger tight basically. So ran it through, got it snugged down good. Pulled that one out, so got an extra pipe plug now, so that's cool. Went ahead, clamped down everything here, clamped down everything up here, and the only thing really left to do now before I go filling this guy up and letting her run up to temperature, we have like a temperature control valve that's going to go right here. That's going to trigger our solenoid that I'm going to mount over here on the fender, I think. That's going to go right here where this pipe plug is. So I'm going to get that guy, go ahead and put it in, since I don't have any coolant in the system. But the way it should work, if I remember correctly, the way this should work. So we have this little thermal switch that's going to go in there on that water neck to turn the fans on. So once this guy, I'm guessing he's normally open, and once he heats up, he'll go normally closed, or he'll go closed, which will then trigger, I believe that's this white wire. That'll trigger the solenoid. I got my hot wire going over to the battery. The blue wire goes to the fan, and of course black to ground. So this white one should trigger this guy, and that should kick the solenoid over, ground the solenoid, or that side of the solenoid, to get it to kick and kick the fans on. So I believe that's the way it works from looking at the little schematic on the relay, and just from what I kind of remember about these guys. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. We'll find out soon enough. But yeah, I just got to pull that little pipe plug out and switch it out with that little thermal switch, and then we'll be ready to go ahead and start topping fluids off, checking for leaks, making sure everything's in good shape there. So let me get those swapped out, and then we'll start putting some fluids in this guy. All right, after way too long, I finally got this thing wired up. Now, don't critique me on the wiring. It's temporary. I don't have a lot of connectors and stuff, and frankly, I was really sick of running back and forth to the parts house. So I just kind of made do with what I got. So this will be a temporary to permanent fix. That means I might get around to it eventually. So we've got our relay mounted up right here. Probably, it may not be the best place to mount it, but I mounted it up here because that gave me this lead going over to the fans. The white lead actually goes to a switched hot. The black goes to ground, but now that's the tricky part, because that guy, our little temperature valve over here, or temperature switch, thermal switch, whatever you want to call it, that guy's actually providing our ground. So you run your black wire. I ran it through the existing wire loom all the way back over, up and around, and it's just kind of, I ran out of wire, so I kind of took it where I could. Get it kind of out of the way. So it's just kind of routed right here, clicked onto that guy. Again, used the existing wire loom and ran a switched into the fuse panel that's on a switch 12. And then I ran my battery back and down. This hasn't been dressed up at all, but I've got enough slack on it to where I can tuck it in the existing wire loom that feeds over to the passenger side headlights. So I'm going to use that loom to get that wire over there. So temporarily, I've got the guy just kind of jammed in here, and I've got my test light hooked up to the negative, or ground, and the ignition switch is off. So you can hear the relay want to kick, but nothing's happening. I got no juices because I don't have my switch hot. So let me go over here and flip my switch. So I'll come over here, turn on my ignition. Now I can come back over here, and I can lay my ground on here. those fans are chooching. So it does work. It works well. Like I said, the wiring, I'm running out of wire and I'm running out of, you know, connectors and stuff like that. So just trying to make crap work. So it's, like I said, temporary to permanent. So now all that's really left is I just got to tie these back. Yeah, that's ugly, but I got to tie those guys back, get them out of the way. So I'm gonna leave the slack on my 12 volt, my hot lead. I'll probably just put a little ring connector on it. I'll clean that up a little bit, but put a little ring on it, hook it directly into the battery. Like I said, it's just kind of routed down along here, following the headlight wiring. I'm gonna replace this grill maybe this weekend. So when I go to pulling this grill out, it'll give me a lot more access into that wire loom, and I can sit and just, you know, get it tucked into that wire loom, and then I don't have to worry about it. And then I can, you know, re-terminate this end and, you know, make it nice. So, yeah, it's taken a lot longer than I anticipated, but that part's done. So now I'm pretty much to the point of needing to start the truck. I went ahead and filled my radiator up with what I had, added a little bit to it because it's a bigger radiator. Added a little bit to it, but I do need to start the truck, get the thermostat open, get the coolant running through the system. That way I can make sure I've got enough coolant and water inside the radiator so I'm not running low on this thing. So that's going to be my next step, starting this guy up and well, just letting it get up to temperature and watching the thermostat open. So I'm going to do that, and I guess I'll be back in just a few. All right, so we've been idling for a little bit now, and I don't know how well you can see that, but she's holding pretty steady at around 180. It took a minute for the thermostat to open, had a little air bubble up there. So it finally got past it, thermostat open. Now we're chooching right along with, you know, running the antifreeze or the coolant through. So that's moving right along. The fans, they're definitely doing their job. This guy's a little cooler air coming through. This guy's a little warmer air. That makes sense because there's where my, you know, my hot's coming in over here, coming down. So yeah, they're doing their job. Switch kicked on right at, you know, 180, 185, probably somewhere in that neighborhood. But everything seems to be running pretty good. I'm gonna let it run for just a little bit longer, just to make sure I got air bubbles out. I'm pretty sure I do. Heater core, those both feel nice and hot. My top hose is good and hot. I know the bottom one's hot. So I think we about got all the air out, but we'll give it a little bit longer, let it run, and double check it after that. So all right, I guess I'll get back with y'all here in just a little bit. All right, so Little John ready to go back on the road. Fresh heater hoses, fresh radiator. We'll give her a test ride. I'll probably drive it again this week. These fans seem to be working okay. Like I said, temporary wiring, don't make fun of that. It's wrapped around the battery just to hold the slack up. Yeah, it's kind of trash, but whatever. It's only temporary, maybe. So you can tell I was getting tired because this side looks really nice. It's clean and dressed and all that, and then that side's like whatever. So yeah, it's late. This has taken a lot longer than I anticipated, plus the 2 different trips out to town I had to make. So took a lot longer than I thought. So today's kind of burned out now. It's like 8:30 or something. It's pretty late considering. So I think I'm gonna shut it down for the night and come back out in the morning, and then I've already washed the truck, so we can get out here and see if we can't put a little polish on this turd and make it look like something a little bit better. So all right, I guess I'll see y'all guys in the morning. All right, folks, next day, out here just kind of looking over everything, trying to figure out exactly where I want to start, and of course, you know, time concerns. So I think we're just going to concentrate on the hood because the rest of the truck's pretty much the same stuff. But we're pretty much just going to worry about the hood right now because it's probably the worst that's visible to most folks. So you can kind of see it's got this black crap that's inside the paint, and this is the clear coat side, this is the non-clear coat side. You can see where the clear is just flaking up pretty easy. So that's kind of a pain, but you can kind of see some of my marks in here where I was hitting it with the pressure washer back when I got the truck. I think what we're going to do is we're going to wet sand this and try to just kind of get into this clear a little bit and take some of this crap out of it. So I believe that's what we're going to do, is wet sand this. We'll probably go ahead and wet sand over here as well. We're going to use a pretty high grit. I'll have to double check and see what I got, but we're going to go pretty high on the grit. And we're going to just, we don't want to really get into the paint here. We just want to kind of kill that top dead layer of paint. If I go hitting that stuff with the buffer, it's just going to fill my pad up like super fast. So my thought is kill that first little layer of dead stuff, the really chalky crap, because you can see just from me doing this, it's coming off on my hands. So kill that with a little wet sanding, and we'll probably try, and this is always going to be a losing battle with this clear coat peeling. The only way to fix that is just to sand it all down and get all the clear coat off. But we're not going to do all that. So we're just going temporary, kind of a quick fix. But this is always going to be a losing battle. This stuff's constantly going to be flaking up and peeling off. So we'll try and feather this edge out as best we can with the sandpaper and our wet sanding. So we'll try and feather these edges out on these guys where it's really peeling bad, just to try to minimize or maximize, I guess I should say, how long, we can keep it before it starts flaking up again. It'll probably happen next time it's in the rain. But, I mean, it's all along the truck. So, like, here, I can start popping it right off. This just happened since I washed it the other day. Yeah, so that's going to happen everywhere. Like I said, we're only going to work on the hood, but, like, I would probably wet sand, very, very gently wet sand, up here on top of the fenders, because they're really, really chalky. But yeah, that's kind of the name of the game, is just kind of knock that dead layer of paint and crap off. So one of the things you want to do to try to minimize the amount of frustration you're going to have while you're sanding on this is just get your air hose and a little tight blower and come in here and get at your edge. And that'll blow most of the, the really loose edge up. Now, granted, this is, like I said, temporary. This isn't going to last very long. It's going to end up with another edge here before long. So that's kind of the first step in doing this. Just kind of getting in here and blowing the soft edge up. Gives us a little, while we're sanding, we're not going to be popping this stuff like crazy. So yeah, so I'm gonna run around. I'm gonna do that to this hood real quick and just blow all my little edges down and try to get rid of all this really white looking stuff where the clear coat's lifted. So I'm gonna do that, and then we'll get a bucket of water and a rag and a piece of sandpaper, and we'll get to it. All right, so I found some sandpaper. I got a fair amount of 1500 grit. This is the lowest high grit that I have. I got some 3000 in there, but that's going to be that's a little too fine. So 1500 ought to do what we're needing to do. 1000 probably a little bit better, but don't have that. I got 1500. So we're going to use 1500. So the key is keep everything wet. That way you're not actually, it keeps that friction, keeps it smooth. It makes everything a little bit nicer, so you don't end up with some really hard scratches that you're trying to buff out. So one thing I will note is I don't care about this paint so much. So I'm just using my hands. If you were doing this on a car or truck that has good paint, you're never going to want to sand with your hands, because you're going to leave divots where your fingers are, or where your individual fingers are. You'll have little divots on there from the unequal pressure and all that other stuff. So you'd want to block it. you know, or use something as a buffer between your hand and the sandpaper. But like I said, I don't really care about this paint, so we're just trying to make it look a little bit better. So that's kind of what we're doing here. But yeah, if you're doing this on a vehicle with nicer paint, I'd probably not do it this way. But so we're just going to kind of start over here in the center and work our way back this way. I'm starting at the top of the hood. So we're going to start up there. We're going to work our way back, and you know, we'll see what she looks like after I get done with the little wet sand and basically just this, I don't know, foot and a half patch all the way across this hood. So we'll get going on this, and we'll take a look at it afterwards. All right, well, it's still wet, but you can kind of see the difference. You know, here's kind of where my line is. You can see it brought that color out a lot. So when I go to buffing it and I go to put a shine on it, it'll shine up about this color, which is unfortunate because this will be kind of more orangey than this. But that's okay. It'll fade in. It'll be fine. But yeah, you can see all the dark crap still in the paint over here. There's actually a very definitive difference in the way it feels. This is now smooth. This is rough. You can really feel it with the sandpaper and with the rag. So that's pretty much it. Just going through, wet sanding it. You kind of want to maintain one direction on this. You don't want to be, you know, going all over the place with it. Just kind of want to maintain one direction with it, and just make sure keep it good and wet, and just move along. You know, like right now I'm seeing a spot here I got to go back over. I still see some dark in here, so there's a couple spots I missed, but you know, that's just kind of the quick and dirty way to do this. So all right, I'm gonna get back to it, and I guess we'll get this side of the hood done. We may go ahead and do the whole hood, I don't know, we'll see. But we'll go ahead and get rocking on this and really try to put some time in on this. So you can now see that we've sanded, you know, wet sanded this side. I'm not gonna worry about that side just yet. That way we have a nice comparison. So I'm gonna use my little orbital buffer. May not be exactly the right application for this, but I did discover I was out of my heavy duty buffing compound. So I've got to order more of that. So I'm just gonna use what I got, which is just some turtle wax polishing compound. I don't expect great results, but maybe it'll surprise us. So I'm gonna start off up there at the top again, and just kind of work it in, see if we can't clean this up a little bit and bring back a good shine. Yeah, it's kind of what I was afraid of. This isn't aggressive enough. So I might have to get my wool pad out, I think, and dig on it a little bit with the wool pad. And I don't think my polishing compound I got, it ain't gritty enough. So I'll see what I can't do. I may have to run to the dang parts house again and see if they've got some sort of cutting compound. But yeah, I guess I'll be back. I got my little bit of rubbing compound left. You can hear there ain't a whole lot left in there. Let's see what we can't do with what I got. So I had just enough to do the hood, or half the hood. There's a couple spots I could probably stand to go back over. Maybe I'll dump a little water down in there or something and try to get a little bit more out of it and hit a couple spots. But I mean, seriously, it shined up really, really good. You know, right in here, it could really stand a little bit more. It's a little faded in here. You can still see some of my sand marks. You know, I probably ought to go back over it at least one more time with the high speed, just to clean it up really, really good. But like I said, there's a little bit left in there. I might be able to eke it out. But it turned out really, really good. It shined up real nice. Right now it's really shiny, but it's really splotchy. And a lot of that's just because, you know, swirl marks and leftover buffing compound and all that crap. So I think what I'll do is, since I do have just a little tickle left in there, I'll come back and hit a few of these spots that need a little bit more attention and hit those with the high speed. And then we'll come back and we'll hit it with some polish and try to smooth it out a little bit, you know, smooth it out a little bit better. You know, from this angle, I can see a few more. What I'm going to end up having to do, which is really, it's going to kind of kill me, is order some more buffing compound and probably a new wool pad. That one's seen better days. Go ahead and order buffing compound and a new wool pad and really put it to this guy, because I mean, there's a fair amount of truck here to buff out. So my shoulder's going to get a freaking workout this week. So I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and hit my trouble spots on the hood one more time. It's just a handful of them. Get those knocked out, and then we'll get the polisher out, and we'll try to shine at least this part of the truck up real nice. And I guess I'll catch back up with y'all then. All right, folks. So wrapped up with the polishing. Turned out pretty good. That clear coat's a little rough. I really do need to go over it again with the cutting compound and probably a fresh wool pad. It's kind of splotchy on the clear coat side of it, but like I said, that clear coat's crap. It's really in bad shape. But anyways, it turned out extremely well for what it is, and me being out of stuff. So, so anyways, here's what we finished up with. So you can see she shined up real nice. There's still a few little spots that could be, stood to be gone over again. I don't know if it comes over on camera very well, but you can kind of see a little bit of splotchy right in here. A little, just kind of in this general area, a little bit on up on the edge over here. And then it really starts showing splotchy on this clear. Like I said, could probably stand to hit that one more time with the high speed, but this is what we started with before we did anything. So yeah, pretty big difference. Especially for, basically, I don't know, what have I spent out here? Hour and a half, 2 hours maybe. Hour and a half, 2 hours worth of work, and we got half a hood that looks pretty good, especially from a distance. It'll look really good. So now I have the fun-filled task of the rest of this week, going through and wet sanding the rest of the truck. So this is going to be a very painful and aggravating thing. The one thing I'm really kind of concerned about is I kind of dig the pinstripes. So I'm going to avoid these areas, which may come back to bite me because I may come in a little faded. I'll have like an outline where it's really polished, and then here it'll be faded. But I really don't want to screw up these pinstripes. They look really cool. And they're just kind of randomly throughout. I got it here on the gas, there on the door handle, mirror. I've got it going around the wheel well, mostly up here on the front. They just kind of accented it throughout the truck. So yeah, front, wheel well, underneath the GMC Sierra, underneath my Sierra badging. It's there. Again, here on the fuel. This fender actually has it on the dually fender out and around the light. I don't know if it's on the back. Yep, it's on the back. Got a little bit there. And there's some here on the tailgate, which is mostly gone. But yeah, I really dig those pinstripes. So what I may end up doing is taking pictures of all of them. And if I kill them, I kill them. But I'll have pictures of them. Maybe I can find somebody that does pinstriping, because I am not that talented. But maybe I can find somebody that does pinstriping and they won't mind coming back and recreating these. Or maybe I just wait till after I paint this thing. If I paint this thing. Probably will never paint this thing. But we'll just keep polishing the turd and calling it good. So but yeah, that is a very stark difference in just a little bit of elbow grease, versus God knows how long. I mean, we know this truck sat for at least 10 years. It may be longer than that since it's had any actual things put on the paint to kind of clean it up and keep it protected. So anyhow, it's Sunday afternoon. I've got a laundry list of stuff to get done, including laundry. So I'm gonna head inside, get this stuff editing, and work on my laundry and other things. So I'm gonna call this one good for this week. Like I said, the rest of this following week, I'm going to take and absolutely destroy my shoulders by wet sanding the entire truck. And as soon as I get my buffing compound in and another wool pad, then we'll go back and I'll buff this whole thing out and make it look shiny. So hopefully next week when we're in the shop, we'll have the rest of the truck looking about this good, which this is very good considering, that. So I do appreciate y'all guys watching. If you want to follow me on social medias, that stuff is down in the description. I will go ahead and throw a link to the buffing compounds and the pads and all that crap that I use. I usually just pick this stuff up on Amazon. So I'll just throw some links down there in the description for that. If you like the video, be sure and hit that like button. If you made it this far and you haven't subscribed, why the hell not? Just go ahead and subscribe. I see the stats. There's like 75% of the people that watch this stuff aren't subscribers, just hit the subscribe button, folks. So anyhow, I do appreciate it. Y'all guys have a good week, and we will see y'all next week. And just remember, folks, ain't got to be perfect. Just good enough. We'll see y'all later.